I was part of a program where we used an app called Replica, which was a machine learning app that helped young people actually in psychology. So it was helping young people to have a chat bot that they could converse with and actually get a lot of really good, information and help and different bits and pieces like that. Now, the evolution of that, of where that started, was really at around 2012, and then in 2014, when we started with the research, moved into actually an application that people could download on their phones. So it took about 2 years to pre-train that AI so that it gave really good responses. It wasn't sending people down, a difficult track or making it harder. So I want to preference everything tonight by saying AI is still evolving, and the word, I guess, using evolving is actually a really interesting way of putting it, because it's evolving at a faster rate than human beings have evolved, especially in the way that it thinks. And I'm going to show you exactly why it's doing that and how it's doing that. And then we'll have a little bit of time for a bit of Q&A at the end, if that's cool. All right. So just quickly, of those people that put their hand up that have had experience with ChatGPT, how many people have actually got a paid version of ChatGPT? Okay. Is it okay if I ask a couple of those people what your application of that is?
The plugins that are attached to it, as well as the use of the full version the whole time, the less weight and the increased capacity to receive responses swiftly, and having those extra plugins as well.
Yeah. So I'm going to show some demonstrations tonight, and they're going to be out of the free version, ChatGPT 3.5, which is actually, it's called Turbo, which means that it actually has been trained on a little bit more data. When I say a little bit more data, it's like a fair bit more data. But the paid version has sort of taken another leap, and that's only been available to us, for a matter of months. It hasn't been that long. But since November of last year, for people who've been involved with AI and machine learning, the uptake of ChatGPT worldwide actually took a lot of people by surprise. But when you see the power of it and how it can be used, it doesn't take rocket science to work, or it doesn't take ChatGPT much time to work that out about why it's so good. All right. So the outline tonight is I'm just going to introduce the benefits of using the AI. I'm going to talk about the key features of how it actually works. I've talked to a lot of people about, ChatGPT or GPT, and people know that it's AI that you can sort of talk with, but they don't really understand how it works. And I think that's when we talk about prompt engineering, which I will, in here as well, like prompting the AI, actually understanding how it works is a critical element. It'll help you dramatically. I'm going to actually do some test cases. I'm going to show you actually some ways of using ChatGPT for business. And then I'm going to just quickly talk about a couple of best practices in being able to use it. So if you had to see my slides prior to a couple of days ago, I've had to be very careful of what I put in there, not to overwhelm people, because we're talking about very, very complex machine learning, like computer programs, if we put it that way, very complex. So I hope I've hit it at the right time. Now, the other thing too is that I just want to show you this. These images are also generated by AI. So this image is generated from a program called DALL-E, which is also from OpenAI, which OpenAI are the ones that put out ChatGPT. And just so you can see that, I don't know if you can see the hand there. It looks a bit creepy. But I guess from the selection of images that I had, through that, that was the closest one. But I want to show you another one. And that's this image here. And I've got another image I'll show you in a sec as well. This one was created through a program called Stable Diffusion, which actually is a AI model itself that's been trained purely on image data. So when we're talking about AI, we're talking about data that particular AIs have been trained on. Some have been trained for images, some now have been trained for videos, and ChatGPT has been trained on text. Now, just a couple of disclaimers, I guess, from the get-go. The first thing is, we get a lot of questions about, well, if I use ChatGPT, who owns the stuff that pumps out? Especially when we're talking about social media and blogs and different bits and pieces. Do Google penalise blogs that are created by, AI, in its algorithms? So just know that there's two main things to understand. One is that that all the inputs that you put into AI is your intellectual property. Okay. What OpenAI do though is when the AI generates an output, it actually assigns the rights to you. Okay, so that's in their disclaimers. Now, OpenAI itself is a not-for-profit, irrespective of its connection now with Microsoft, which is definitely for profit, if you didn't realise that already. That's why the actual AI model itself is with the non-for-profit, is so that they can assign the rights of that information to you. So once you input the data and it outputs the data, then the rights are assigned to you. Do people know that? No? Okay. Now, one thing about misleading claims, in the AI community, there's been a lot of talk about, how do you know whether something's being generated by AI or not? There's almost like an unwritten rule that's been around for quite some time that sort of says it's probably best to acknowledge that AI has been involved with certain things rather than claiming it for yourself. Now, it's not really about copyright or about plagiarism, because obviously OpenAI provides you with the rights of anything that's outputted by a model. The main reason is that you don't want to misrepresent your current capabilities, if we put it that way. That's the same as with code. We've been using AI with coding websites and software for quite some time. And it's always been used as a helper. But letting people know that, yeah, look, AI has been helping to create this rather than it just being our own thing is more of a moral, code and a way of going. But I can tell you in the future, it's going to have some pretty significant implications. So I thought this was a really important one to put up. Actually, on here. Yeah? Oh, okay. Can everyone hear? All right. The other thing to point out too is that there is a way, obviously being AI, it sort of can work out everything, right? But there is a feedback loop that goes into OpenAI, which means that if people are misrepresenting the data that's outputted and claiming it as their own, and then using it in platforms like Twitter and other big platforms and putting this stuff out there is a possibility that you can actually be taken off the platform. So it's just important to know that. And the third one, I had 6 of these, so I've gone to 3 of the main ones. But this one is super important to understand. If you're using ChatGPT 3.5, it doesn't have full access to the internet. It's been trained on data up until around September 2021, and it can draw on that data. Now, it is really, really powerful. So don't be misled in that it's not as powerful as it just doesn't have the up-to-date information. But it is still super powerful, and that's why the free version, why I asked about ChatGPT 4, if anyone's got the paid version, is the free version of ChatGPT is actually with the 3.5 model. ChatGPT 4 is an outstanding evolution from ChatGPT 3.5. So you can see with this an increment of 0.5, whatever that means, which actually means data, the evolution of that AI is significant. Hallucinations are basically where AI will output data and information that is outside of the parameters it's been trained on. No one really knows how or why it does it. It's quite phenomenal, but it does. Has anyone come across hallucinations at all with using? Yeah? I've had several over the years. I had one really recently when I was working on a project, and it is almost like, I guess from psychology, we look at it from a point of view, it's almost like that there's a young person that's just wanting to please you and give you the information that you want to hear. So that's why it's really important to understand about hallucinations, because not all the data that you get actually is going to be the right data, okay? All right, now this image here was taken out of a Lambda model, which is a Google-based model, and you can see that even though the fingers still look a bit weird, that they're a lot better than the DALL-E model. Now, this is a text-to-image based AI model, so it's based on getting human input and then outputting that into its design. And it's an incredibly powerful model as well. And if I could show you a whole heap of images from even a year ago, what we're getting now, it's just unbelievable. All right, so ChatGPT has been termed as one of the most significant, sort of inventions or pieces of technology that we've got, even surpassing the smartphone. And who doesn't have a smartphone in this room? No? Yeah. The other thing about it is it was the fastest onboarding of any software in the history of humankind. So as an example, to reach its first 1 million users was around 5 days. To get 1 million users for Facebook was almost a year, I think, and Instagram a bit longer. Netflix took nearly 10 years, I think, to get 1 million users. So we're over 150 million users on ChatGPT now. So this is a really significant piece of technology.
Your microphone, Dave.
Sorry? All right. Really? That might be a problem. Okay. Now, just to show you, this is just straight out of Google Trends I did a couple of days ago. You can see the queries on Google just on a simple one, ChatGPT for Business, how the amount of queries from November, all the way up to the present day are just immense. So it's not just about how to use it, it's also that many, many people are using the software. And so it's one of the most critical ones to understand how to use it so that really we can sort of compete with what everyone else is doing, if I can put it that way. Now, ChatGPT, so GPT actually is not a cool little, 3-letter word, it's an acronym that stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. Now, I'm going to explain what that is. So where we talk about generative is that it's built upon a language learning model which mimics the human language. Okay, it was built originally on English, but now it can translate pretty well into any language. And in essence, it's like a massive computer program. If you think about your own computer, how it can, get documents from here and you can copy and paste text all over the place. The language learning model is similar to that. It's sort of like a major network. And it's called generative AI because it generates new information. The information that ChatGPT or any GPT or any transformer actually punches out doesn't exist. Okay, so it's something to be in awe about, for one thing, but also to know that it is actually always generating brand new content that's never been created before. Now, pre-trained means that these models, these LLMs, the language learning models, they're pre-trained on vast amounts of data. Now, the data that they're pre-trained on is mainly taken from, it's really all of it's been taken from the internet. There's been a lot of debate because a lot of it was trained on Reddit, which is a little bit troubling. I don't know, does anyone use Reddit in here? Yeah, okay. Reddit is like an underground Facebook, sort of. It's a conversational platform that's mainly been used by developers for years, but it's an incredibly vast database of conversations that go back a long way. Those conversations have been very, very useful in helping to train ChatGPT on natural language processing, or NLP, which is what it's built on. Now, the training data is like giving the AI a textbook, and it used the textbook to learn everything, knowing that it's able to learn all this information rapidly. Now, a transformer is it was developed by Google actually as a phenomenon. It uses a neural network which is actually mapped exactly on the brain, on the human brain. The human brain is connected with neurons and to different parts of the brain, and those different parts of the brain then work differently for the body systems, especially in neuropsychology or neurobiology. So if you think about it that way, then you can see that all of these computers are all networked together using nodes, which are very similar to neurons, and they connect all of these massive databases together, and they work like the brain, as the human brain does. Now, it's got a very interesting way of doing it, which uses a process called attention, which means it only pays attention to words that it thinks are important, and then will disregard anything it doesn't think is important. Now, this leads to hallucinations, and this is something I'm going to show you about prompt engineering, about how we need to prompt or provide the AI with good information or good instructions for it to give good information. Otherwise, it's just going to not pay attention to certain words, and it'll pump out whatever it thinks it should. All right. The next part of these pillars to understand is prompt engineering. Prompting is where the AI gets its instructions, and it's your input. Your input is called a prompt. If you think about the way that we instruct the AI to do things, it's like giving anyone instructions. If you do it vaguely, people are going to give a vague, sort of action. If you give it really specific instructions, then it's going to act very specifically. And it's super important to understand, especially when we're talking about how the neural network uses the mechanism of attention, paying attention to certain things and disregarding other things. And finally, context. When we talk about context, if we think about it from a human perspective, when we're talking to people or we're having conversations with people, without providing context in any conversation, the other persons can be left floundering, trying to work out what are you talking about? I don't understand. And AI actually operates extremely similarly to that, okay? It will actually take the context of everything that's doing, learns it super quickly because it's operating with vast amounts of power. We've got server farms that are connected all over the place, so its brain is huge. And without context, it's going to flounder in trying to give you what you're after. Okay, so context is incredibly important. Oh, sorry, yep. Now, what can you do with now? This is not an exhaustive list. This is just out of my head. I just threw them down, but some things that are very common. You can pre-train ChatGPT on your own business and actually input data into ChatGPT so that when it pumps out information, you're providing with full context about who you are and what you do. That's something that's super important and critical to understand. And actually being able to pump ChatGPT with your own business data is the way to get the results that you actually want for your business. Okay. You can use it to make decisions. And I'm going to show you an advanced technique, a prompting technique that's been around for a while called chain of thought, in how to actually refine business decisions and using your little sidekick, which is the best way to think about it, rather than the person in control of you, ChatGPT, as your little helper. Being able to use like chain of thought and other different prompting techniques, you'll be able to make really good, decisions that you can double check with your mentor or other people, obviously, but it's amazing. Now, it's also available all the time. It never switches off. So if you, how many people have downloaded the app, have got on their phones? Okay, it's just a replica of the web app anyway. So whatever information that you've been pumping into, sorry? whatever information you've been pumping into ChatGPT, you can access anywhere. It's there. And you can keep working on a chat thread and keep, feeding it information and chatting with it. And it'll just keep learning and learning. So it's available all the time. Now, I thought I'd put this in there about it can create ads for you, very effective ads, I might say, and actually set up campaigns for you and all these sort of things. But there's an interesting thing to it, which I could add this to all of these ones. You can actually get it to teach you how to do it, okay? So not only will it do it for you, but you can actually ask it and it'll teach you exactly how to run ad campaigns and whatever you want, actually. With the right prompting, it'll actually train you exactly what you want to learn. You can also set up lead nurturing, sort of processes if you're working in sales especially, and actually set up little outreaches. Once it understands who your target audience is, your early adopter, you can actually get it to start to focus on those particular people very specifically. You can actually do market research and you can pump in competitors and do a full analysis, even if you're okay, so even though ChatGPT doesn't have access to, or the free version is said to not have access to the internet, I've done trials on different bits and pieces where it seems that it actually does. And if you do prompt it really well, it will find that data. If it was existing before, if your competitors had a web presence or something like that, before 2021, you'd still be able to dig all that information up. You can create spreadsheets of all your customer reviews and get ChatGPT to do analysis on that and actually tell you exactly what are the things that are the strengths that people are saying and some of the things that you could work on. Incredibly powerful. You can actually get it to create a website lead flow. So actually tell you exactly the way you should customize your website to get the best outcome. You can create chatbots that are based on GPT-4. You can feed it information, so it's got a database of everything, and it will be able to converse independently with all of your customers based on your data and give them the best answer that it can probably do, most likely better than what we can do. And the other big thing, and this is where I guess the evolution of GPT-4 has come in. You can utilize a lot of third-party software and actually connect GPT into those and use it in multiple different ways. I'm actually going to show you an exact workflow of actually connecting apps together.
I thought I just might add, you will have access to the slides. I just see everyone with their phones. If that is awkward for everyone, there is at the end, should you want them, we've got QR codes, you can get the slides. We're happy to give them to you.
Oh, I thought they were taking photos of me. My bad. Yeah, no, the slides will be available. Yeah, don't worry. The paparazzi. All right. So, using ChatGPT for your business. This is a really important slide. These are the first 50 companies that have become enterprise customers of OpenAI in collaboration with Microsoft to use ChatGPT-4. The reason why I wanted to put this slide up is to show you that you can compete now using the same software, the same AI that these companies have. Okay, that's how powerful this is for small businesses. And this is why we want to do more talks like this, because for years and years and years, a lot of small businesses have been hamstrung because of our budgets and our time that we have to be able to do things. Now, ChatGPT and harnessing it properly is going to surpass all of those limitations. And that's why we want to get the information out there and help people to onboard onto this sort of technology. So one of the things that really is a good place to start is making sure that when you have good business information that we can feed into ChatGPT, it's important to really understand who your customer is. Now, part of that you can do with ChatGPT, but a lot of that is still human-based, like what we have to go through always is these iterations of who our customers are and what they actually are after, which is why reviews are so important. But using that data is super important that we can build a profile of our business, including our ideal customers. It's also really good to be able to identify as many channels that you actually use, not ones that you'd like to use, but ones that you use, whether they're online or offline. Now, offline is something that a lot of people don't think about when we think about AI. That's things like, even tonight, it's like an offline, sort of channel, I guess, in some ways. We've got exposure. But having a good understanding of these sort of things is really, really critical so that you can build the best sort of database on what your business is. The other thing is to make sure that you've really optimized your digital footprint. If you optimize your digital footprint the best you possibly can, whether that's just your website and social media and things are all connected together, then using other sort of software and things like that, if you're using the free GPT version and you don't have access directly to them, you can still pump in a lot of information that you get from these platforms that is going to significantly help ChatGPT to understand your business. And the other thing is being able to access and understand different analytic platforms. Like LinkedIn, as an example, has a great analytics platform built within it that you can actually get a good understanding about people that you're working with. So being able to grab that data, which I think you can download out of LinkedIn. Yeah? Yep. Okay, thank you.
You can set it up and it sends you weekly or monthly
Yes.
review of your data.
Yeah, so being able to understand that you can get that data and use that data is really important. All right, now look at this hand. This is Stable Diffusion, okay? This is the latest model, of image generation. It's not OpenAI, it's a completely different company that has been using image-based models and training its own AI on image. And you can see it's pretty well nailed that hand. That doesn't look weird at all. So I just wanted to do that as showcase, just that there are different models out there. It's not just ChatGPT, there's other things that are out there as well. And also the evolution of this stuff. So when we're talking about I'm going to show you a step-by-step guide on exactly how to use ChatGPT for your business. The first thing is you need to be able to define your goals. ChatGPT really works with the context of exactly what it is that it sees you providing it as an outcome. What do you see as the end in mind? Okay. The next thing, and on there I've just got these examples, So it might be that we have a goal to launch a new product or service. We want to increase our sales revenue, expand our customer base, or increase our online presence. Okay, just 4 examples. The next thing, we need to exactly identify what we need with that goal. Now, these are just examples again. So like if it's launch a new product, we might need information on market demand for that product, What are the competitors? What are they offering? Potential pricing strategies that we might want. Increased sales, information on current sales figures, sales trends, opportunities. We want to expand our customer market into a new market. We might need those new market demographics. There's a whole heap of things. Then what we need to do once we have this information is to be able to pump it effectively into ChatGPT. Now, this is where prompt engineering comes in. To be able to get that information in there where you have the AI that's not going to hallucinate or provide you with things that it thinks you want to hear, but actually give you really good data, we need to be able to prompt it from there. Now, just those goals and what we want, the more requirements or the outcomes that you can put in there, the more exhaustive that list is, the better, okay? So I'm going to show you a demonstration. Now, this is a screenshot, and this is a live ChatGPT conversation. It goes pretty fast, okay? So it's more around the output because I'm going to show a different one. So we're going to use the first prompt, this prompt A. I'm looking to increase sales revenue from my small business which sells handmade candles. Now, this is without pre-training ChatGPT on anything. This is just saying I'm a candle person. Very difficult to see from that distance, but that's live output. Now, if you download the slides or you grab the slides, you'll be able to just go through that step by step, but you'll be able to see that the information it's provided is actually pretty good. And remember, I'm using the free version. This is ChatGPT which is using 3.5. Okay, this is not 4. Now, I'm going to insert another prompt. Okay, this prompt is where I'm actually prompting it using all of the data that we actually want. Okay, I'll just read this prompt out. I want to increase sales revenue for my small business, which sells handmade candles. Currently, our most popular products are our lavender and vanilla scented candles. We sell primarily through online stores and local craft fairs. Can you provide some strategies or suggestions to increase our sales revenue? Please consider factors such as upselling and cross-selling opportunities, potential new markets, online marketing strategies, and ways to leverage our most popular products. Okay, that's a vastly different prompt. Yeah? Again, when you grab the slides, if you deep dive into this, you'll see it's given a really interesting output of answers. Now, the speed of it is super quick. Really, even running it at like a phone that's got 3G, it's probably going to run at about 1.5, times that. So that's still giving you data instantly. Yeah, if you do get to go back and have a look at it, the data and compare the two bits is phenomenal. I just don't have time to do that tonight. Now, but we're going to add another prompt. Now, this prompt here is adding to the conversation. We've partly trained the model by giving it a prompt at the start that has some more detail about exactly what we're after. But I actually want to know what tasks should I then follow? What tasks should I do? And which ones are going to give me the best return on investment for those tasks? And I want you to actually, rate them yourself, from easy to hard, okay? So this is at the bottom end of the conversations. This is a continuation. So now it's gone through and prompted a table that's actually listed out the tasks and how easy potentially it would be or hard to do. And just for ease sake, here's what it pumped out. So it's worked out itself. They're going, well, if you enhance your website, that's relatively easy. Now, it's got a disclaimer at the bottom, which is interesting to read because it's sort of gone, okay, this is why I think things are easy and why I think things are moderate or hard. But when any business coach or anything in here, and you look at this list, I mean, that's as close as you're going to get, to pretty good advice, around stuff. Now, this is with an untrained ChatGPT 3.5 model. This is just with that first prompt and then prompting it again to give me a bit of a list. If you're stuck at all and then you grab this list, you're going to get going pretty quick, on things and know, okay, I should put more time into this area and less time here and then start methodically working through it. Incredible. There's even another part of an AI, which is a free bit of software. If people are interested, you can just email me that you can put each one of these items in there and it'll create subtasks for you. So you don't even have to think, it'll chunk it for you. So you've actually got subtasks for each of those ones. So I can put in, enhance my website and it'll go, well, these are all the things you need to do to enhance your website. Incredible. Now, the last piece, which is super critical, is making sure that you understand to always verify your content. Now, a lot of solopreneurs or individual entrepreneurs is sort of where we can't escape anymore into just the ChatGPT world and shield ourselves from other people. So coming along to LinkedIn networks and Fabe and connecting with others is still incredibly critical. Now, for me as a health practitioner, I advocate that a lot, okay, is making sure that we stay connected with people. Don't just sort of find yourself consumed with another piece of software or another, shiny object and disconnect. But the connection piece is really important to run ideas by people. It's really critical. So, yeah, testing it all, monitoring the results, and adjust anything, that you see that's working. But from essence sake, just running through that list and actually constructing a bit of a plan and getting going on things, like, it's pretty good. All right. Now, the big thing to remember with all of this is just that it is a little assistant tool. It's not, don't let it be your boss, okay? It's still an assistant. It's important to understand that because you could run away and just run off with a whole heap of things and end up going down a really weird, sort of path. It's very important to understand that these are just tools that you just use, okay? Your little side helper. And always use your own judgment, okay? If you think these things are infallible, then you're going to end up in a bit of, some few problems. If you think you can run your own judgment over outputs that it has and think about that first, then it's going to be a lot easier. Now, if you do get hallucinations and different bits and pieces, sometimes it's okay to be able to, you can actually get ChatGPT to actually reinforce its own learning and actually work out where it's made a mistake. And they're things that, some of the things that we teach in our workshops actually, is, so if you've, for instance, if you spend all this time training up a thread, if people have used ChatGPT, you've got your little tabs, on the left. Now, each one of those has got long-term memory. So you can train each one of those with as much data as you want. You can only input about 4,000, we call them tokens, let's call them words, I guess, at a time, otherwise you'll get lost and won't be able to process the information. But if you put in enough information, do that, and then suddenly it starts hallucinating, some people go, oh my God, I have to start a whole new chat thread. Well, there are ways that you can actually get the AI itself to revisit its own data and make sure that it's, using its memory and going on there. So that's just one of the things to be aware of. Okay, now I'm going to show you this is an intermediate level sort of test case, I guess, of a way that you can use AI to power your marketing. So these are some tools that we use in order to do that. Now, these are all free tools, okay? But there are paid versions, obviously, but these are free tools. I'll talk about each of them. So Notion. Notion is a piece of software that is sort of like an endless wiki, where you can actually load tons of information and create your own databases of information and just store all of that. Any analytics you get or stuff, you can just add that into, a Notion page. There's plenty of other, software like Notion, but it's a good one. Then you grab that data and you can start feeding it into ChatGPT, using about 4,000 words at a time, and just telling it, I'm going to feed you part 1, and then I'm going to feed you part 2. Do you understand? It'll tell you, yes, I understand. And then you can create content based on the information that you've put in. Then you could go over to Canva and you can develop your own branded copy of all of that content. And then from there you can use software like Publer, which is like Buffer or Hootsuite, and where you can schedule all of that delivery. So you might use ChatGPT, train it, and then create 100 posts. Jump into Canva. You can use their bulk editing software just to add images to different, upload your spreadsheet. Anyway, it's probably a little bit much. And then, but you can just go into something like Publer and you can schedule them all out and you've got 12 months of content done, just like that. And even if you're doing it once a week, publishing that content once a week, the amount of content that you can pump out very quickly is astronomical. Then you can use something like Zapier, which is a data connector point, and we can connect the data, say out of Publer or other ones, that then directly connect to a spreadsheet that drop all that data in, so you can see, how many people have interacted with different bits of content, and what sort of information has come, which posts have worked the best, and you can jump all that in there. And then you can feed that straight back into ChatGPT and go on your second round. So you can use feedback loops based on what you've created already to then train ChatGPT, because all of the previous stuff, once we've got that, is all retrospective data. It's already happened. But then we can put all that data in to go, well, this is the results of all of that. What would you recommend now that I do, based on all that, and then go through the whole loop again. And it is incredibly powerful, and it will save you so much time, effort, and money. It's incredible. Now, the other amazing thing about this software is that they all have integrated AI now. So all of these have AI integrated into them. So Notion uses ChatGPT 3.5, but it also uses another AI called Claude AI. Does anyone use Slack? Anyone use Slack? Yeah? So Slack, you can get a version of, or you can get Claude AI directly into Slack, and you can use it exactly like ChatGPT within Slack. And you can also create your own apps in there as well. GPT, you've got the free version and a paid version. Canva actually haven't disclosed what AI they're using. They've said that they have. They've got 4 different AI products, and there was a press release saying they used 8 different AIs. Most likely one of those is going to be ChatGPT 4, but they haven't disclosed that. Publer, you can add use the ChatGPT or the GPT-4 API, connect that straight into Publer, and you can create content in there. Zapier has got a GPT-4 API direct connection. An API is a piece of it's a connector between OpenAI source code, and it's not in ChatGPT. But anyway, it's just that you can use it. And then now we've got Microsoft products in Excel, which uses Copilot. Copilot is being rolled out through all Microsoft products, which is GPT-4, okay? And so you can use Copilot then to crunch the data for you, feed that all back into GPT, and then you can start the loop again. So it is incredible, the uptake of all of this different stuff into all these little apps and things that we use all the time. Okay, now, I just want to do, before we finish, this is an expert level. This is a prompting technique that's called auto chain of thought. Chain of thought has been around for a long time. We've used it in psychology forever. It's basically helping people to go step by step through a process, and those steps actually reinforce the loops of its own learning or things that it's doing, okay? Now, this prompt that I'm going to show you, anyway, don't get overwhelmed. But the whole idea is that each question that the actual AI goes through and asks itself, this is why it's auto chain of thought, is that it's asking itself these questions. So it's actually reflecting on its own output. And it really guides the AI. Okay, so this is a chain of thought prompt. This is not what, you won't find this very much. This is a lot of research data that goes into these. Now, if you think about even adding in the prompt B that I used, back on the slides, and using chain of thought with it, from an untrained perspective, by not putting in your own data, the output that you'll get will be far superior. So I must determine the right marketing strategy for my target market and ideal customer. Let's use auto. It obviously knows what this is. ChatGPT knows what it is. And think step by step to develop the best approach. Now, I'm going to show you 2 versions. This version here, this first one, was where ChatGPT, then this is just a screenshot because it's out of an old chat thread, where ChatGPT actually starts a conversation that you continue the conversation. So it's reflecting on its answers and asking you for more information. Super powerful, okay, because you're actually getting it to refine it, and as it's rethinking what it's outputting, you're inputting in where you think that's really good, or should it change a few things, or different bits and pieces. You can keep this chat thread going. Now, the other amazing thing about this is by adding in a little prompt at the end which says, before you proceed, you can ask me questions, okay? Then the whole chat thread is just you inputting information based on everything you know already about your business, your customers, whatever you want, and it's just learning rapidly straight from that. But this next one I'm going to show you is a inputted version of the Candle one that we had with the tasks. I've tried to zoom this in a little bit more. Now, what it's doing is going through some reasoning. It's thinking about these things. This is all automatic. It's thinking about each of these different ones of things that it should do while it's making its decision. And this is a decision-making process. And then it pumps out 3 things that it's determined, based on the information that you've given it, of what you should proceed with a marketing strategy. Now, if you read those, it's incredible. It's actually, said what you should focus on with your candles, knowing that what the vanilla essence smell does for people, or, the different smells for people. what the preferences would be and ideas around focusing on pain points. Okay. Now, these are just 3 super quick actionable activities that you could do just with a simple chat thread. We can all get blocked, when you're in business, you get blocked, you go, what am I going to do now? Something like that, pump that out, it's, let's say 30 seconds, and I've got 3 actionable activities that I could get stuck into right now, to help my candle business grow. Or burn, maybe. All right, so where to from here? With the limited amount of time, obviously there's so much more depth that we could go into with the capability of this model, even with the free version of this model. I would really suggest just get going. Even just using what I've given you tonight, that prompting idea, making sure that you've got a goal for what you want, some ideas around exactly the type of information that you're after, and then a good prompt, and you're away by using that. And that's a lot better than a lot of people just sort of using it just in a chat style, which tends to happen a lot. It's just sort of using it like you're on Messenger, which is okay. But the whole idea is that these models thrive on data. They need data. Data is what drives them, and they're used to data. So what we have to feed this beast is data. If you can feed your own data in, you're going to get really, really good results. So that's the first thing. We also have some QR codes or some things spotted around. It's just a simple survey, and you can actually tick on there if you like some more information about stuff. Like I've got a couple of or a checklist on there with some really good prompts that you can use to basically use straight away and to customize for yourself. And then we've got some other bits around some workshops. So if you need more help, we're actually running, it's called AI Advantage. We run a workshop that over 4 hours will actually get your entire business set up. It's pretty intense, and we really only, it's limited to 15, so we keep it really small. But people need to have a pretty good digital footprint already, if that makes sense, to utilize it effectively and to get the most out of that workshop. If you've already got an existing digital footprint that's pretty good and it's still all connected, then we can input all the data, or, get set up on databases so you can have all the information, use ChatGPT to interface, with that data, so you've got a continual, sort of interface going on with your own business data. And then we'll just create an article, and out of that and the whole idea is not just one article. When I was putting that down, even over an hour, we could actually pump out 1,000, unique pieces of content. But the whole idea is that we want to show you how to do it so that you can just replicate that, within your own business over and over and over. Okay, and knowing that content creation is usually the bane in everyone's, sort of side when it comes down to business strategy. Other workshops actually focus on more intermediate or advanced ones, but we've just found that this one seems to fit really well with where most people are at. But again, it's really for businesses that already have a pretty good digital footprint and have a good understanding about who their customers are, that we can put in chunks of data, relatively quickly, so developed data. Now, people who aren't at that stage, we've got, it's called Digital Kickstart, and this is really focused on helping businesses who either are going already or have started going, but they really need to start connecting all of their digital footprint together, especially from a marketing perspective. So Digital Kickstart is really focused on people being able to get their footprint together and set up for marketing purposes. And then after people have done that, then you could jump straight into one of our ChatGPT workshops. Okay, so after doing this, you'd have extensive amounts of data that would actually, you'd be able to put into a GPT thread and get going.
Are these online?
Actually, this one's virtual. It's just an hour a week, just goes for 7 weeks, virtually. Tenure? the time that the virtuals are on? 10 o'clock till 10 till, sorry? Yeah, 10 o'clock till 11 o'clock, either on a Tuesday or Wednesday. They fill up super quick as well. But this one here is face-to-face. The reason why is because I end up having to do a lot of troubleshooting for people, afterwards, just with different bits and pieces. So I found it more beneficial for everybody involved if we can actually just do it there and troubleshoot it on the spot, and then you're away, everyone's off and running. That seems to be the most prudent way of going about it. Now the other thing is that's the big ass QR code. So if you want to, that's the same one as there. Someone was saying to me that they've tried to scan QR codes on screens before and never been able to get them because they're in the top corner or something or other. So we decided to put a big ass one in the middle. So that's us. I guess I've got time for a couple of questions. Yeah. Does anyone have any? Yep.